has been a consultant for Brian's company, Equity Development, where he's a board member, since December 2017. His career spans more than 30 years as senior analyst in both asset management and investment banking. He held senior analyst roles at Lehman Brothers, Bankers Trust, Matrix, Societe Generale, Stifel, and Whitman Howard. And tonight he is going to be leading the discussion, making exchanges work for business. Over to you.
Thank you for that very, very kind introduction. It's great to have everybody sitting on blocks. And let's go. I really want to talk about 3 or 4 things. I'm going to be very brief. One is about raising money and the importance that we focus on that as a raison d'etre. A little bit about STOs, a little bit about the exchanges, and then quite a comment at the end really about what we're trying to do with blockchain analytica. But my main conclusion on everything is that the actual why and wherefore and what we're all doing, why we should all be very proud of ourselves and very excited about that, the fact that this is what we're doing, is we're raising money to expand companies which typically will be in an early stage of their existence. And that way we are able to match the amount of capital, amount of money and people's savings that is out there that's looking for something interesting to do with their money with a massive great need state, which is people who are looking to raise money to expand their businesses. And I think we should always have a thought back that all the evolution of everything that we've seen in financial markets from when we were reading about the great crash of '29, from when we were looking at sort of watching Michael Douglas in Wall Street, but all of these amazing things like these massive stock markets and everything like that, well, if people think it's about traders and people hollering down different phone lines and things like that, all of those shares were originally created to raise money for a business so that that business could have the financial health in order to be expanded. And the work we're doing with blockchain, crypto assets and digital currencies is no different from that. It's all about raising money to expand businesses. And that's where the most amount of money or most success we'll have in what we do will actually be established. So as I say, it doesn't matter whether you're bulge bracket or chop shop, or whether you're bonds, equities, or whether you're moving into cryptocurrencies, away from convertibles and things like that. It's all about financing business expansion. And we should be excited about that, and I think we should all be very proud that we're part of that process. Now, everything changes very quickly in the space that we're looking at. So, what's fashionable one week will be something completely different another week. And but what I think is quite interesting that's establishing itself really is the whole area of securitized tokens. That when you're buying something, you're buying something from a company which will actually honor what you're buying, which is really the traditional definition of a security. And however much that might change from sort of short term or longer term, I do think there's something we can really run with in the whole area of a securitized token offering. In particular, I like the idea personally of the revenue token, because the revenue token cuts to the chase very differently from a number of things that we've been used to being paid out on by companies in terms of securities. And the revenue token is a way in which you lend a company money and they agree that they will give you a portion of their revenue as a result of that. And that way, the company's success and their growth and your interests as a security holder are very much aligned. And for the company, it has the enormous benefit that there's no dilution and there's much lower costs involved in that process. And for you as the individual holder of that token, you have the massive benefit that you're not subject to decisions that are being made at board level. I.e., we're not going to pay a dividend this year because we want to hold money back. With a revenue token in an STO, you don't have that problem. And the third thing that strikes me as really interesting is the role of exchanges. Because, we've all grown up and sort of done a little walk down Wall Street with the dream when we're starry-eyed kids and thinking this is where we're going to make an enormous amount of money. And you see this enormous building, the New York Stock Exchange, or we used to have it in London. It's a big building on Threadneedle Street, and now it's rather sort of trendier place down by St Paul's Cathedral. But the reality is, these exchanges don't really do very much of the work, because the investment banks do all the work. But when we move into blockchain, crypto, digispace, we find it's the exchanges that are doing the work. The exchanges are actually actively wanting to help people raise money. You have new issues coming through, and the exchanges will help to place those products with investors. So to some extent, the exchanges are taking over the role in this process that we might normally associate with investment banks. And I think that's very exciting, because that means you've got people who want to have exchanges, they want to see the business on their exchange, but they also know that there's a price to be paid for that. And the price to be paid for that, for them, is that association with the fundraising process of raising money for companies which need money in order to be able to expand their businesses. Now, in terms of what we're trying to do at Blockchain Analytica, is we identified quite early on, and part of it was like last summer I was lying on a beach and really staring into space, but at the same time I was reading Chris Koniski and Jack Tatar's book, Crypto Assets, and I sort of somewhere between sort of staring out across the Atlantic and making sure I had enough suntan oil on and that kind of stuff, I suddenly saw this comment saying, well, no one's writing about issues of coins in the same way that the investment banks always produce follow-up research into other investments. So, you know, that people like Morgan Stanley, if they've issued a convertible, they'll write about it, and equities, they'll write about it, bonds are the same. And then we ended up with a need state from a company which is called Evident Proof. And so we ended up, they issued a token called the EPT token, and, you know, they felt that they wanted to support that in the aftermarket. They came to us, and then we produced that under the equity development name, and then that gave us, again, part of the inspiration that we really wanted to move on from that, because that's a name that we associate with writing about company shares, that we should be producing research for the blockchain, crypto, asset, digital industries as a service that we provided. And then I said, well, we don't just need to write research, we want to be doing their roadshows, we want to be doing their token economics, we want to be doing their corporate advisory, but most important of all, we want to be doing their fundraising. And so Blockchain Analytica is effectively designed to be a provider of investment banking services to, or investment banking style services, or merchant banking, whatever you want to call it, or financial services, or financing services, to blockchain, crypto, digital. And we want to do that, as I say, across a range of corporate advisory, investment research, investor relations, token economics, and fundraising, and do that on the basis of something that's both insourced and outsourced. So where we find other people are better at doing things than we are, we have no problem in going to people that we like and getting them to do the work for us. So that's really, you know, my central message is that whenever we look at whatever we're doing, I would say we should focus very much on the fact that we're trying to raise money for other people. This is not a parasitic state of mind. This is a very active state of mind where you're doing something that's really for the good of the economy and for business as a whole. And we're actually in a place here where I think we should all be very proud of ourselves that we've got ourselves into that part of the market which is capable in the most innovative and forward-looking way of making this thing happen. Because the biggest challenge, I think, out there is that I know every day there's an enormous amount of people who've got money to invest, and there's an enormous number of businesses who've got that need state of wanting other people to invest in their business. And we somehow, as this group, have to be able to get in the middle and make it happen. And if we're successful, I think we will be well rewarded, and justifiably so.